first day you just mentioned that you're in office, I imagine you've got some executive orders that you're
Yeah, a
going
lot
to
of
go
them.
through. Can you tell us what your
We'll have a lot.
priorities-
Well,
what are your priorities?
I bet you could tell, you could say as well as I could. We will have many executive orders and other things that we'll be signing on the first day.
Can you also, just going back to my initial question about the Middle East, you said that your conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu was kind of a review. Did you repeat
We
that
just had a
threat?
very good conversation. And, you know, the real conversations will start on the 20th. But we had a really good conversation, and I think we're going to be in a good place in the Middle East. I think the Middle East will be in a good place. I think actually more difficult is going to be the Russia-Ukraine situation. I see that as more difficult.
When you say there will be
I don't think they should have allowed missiles to be shot 200 miles into Russia. I think that was a bad thing. And that brought the Koreans in, you know, North Korea, another man I get along with very well. I'm the only one that does. But that did a lot of bad things. I don't think that should have been allowed. Not when there's a possibility, and certainly not just weeks before I take over. Why would they do that without asking me what I thought? I wouldn't have had them do that. I think that was a big mistake they made.
Will you reverse that decision when you're in office? To let those
I might, yeah.
missiles be
I thought it was a
used?
very stupid thing to do.
And when you
So
say
do you have any
that-
reaction to
just one
Duke
last one on
Lacrosse?
this. When you say that there will be hell to pay if the hostages are not released before January 20th, what does that mean?
Well, they're going to have to determine what that means. But it means it won't be pleasant.
Mr. President,
It's not
how
gonna-
was your meeting?
It's not going to be pleasant, yeah?
How was your meeting with Apple CEO Tim Cook, and did you talk about tariffs in that meeting?
Meeting with who?
Apple CEO Tim Cook.
I did have dinner with Tim Cook. I had dinner with sort of almost all of them, and the rest are coming. And this is one of the big differences, I think, between, we were talking about it before, one of the big differences between the first term. In the first term, everybody was fighting me. In this term, everybody wants to be my friend. I don't know. My personality changed or something. But I had, as you know, I had Sundar from Google, but I also had Sergey. Nobody reported that. Sergey is the owner, the primary owner, along with his friend, as you know. And Sergey was here also. I can't believe you didn't pick that one up. Nobody picked that up. But I will tell you, no, it's a big difference. The big difference is that the first time everybody was fighting me on all fronts. And we had a great administration. We got the biggest tax cuts in history, rebuilt the military. Too much of it was given away to Afghanistan, stupidly given away, horribly given away. I think that's one of the reasons that Putin went in to Ukraine when he saw the stupidity of Milley and these guys. They're stupid people, very stupid people. If they didn't do such a bad, you know, we were pulling out of Afghanistan, but I would have pulled out with dignity and strength. They wouldn't be having parades, I guarantee you, showing our equipment that they left behind, because we weren't going to leave any equipment behind, not 10 cents. We were going to take every screw and every bolt. Yeah, the biggest difference is that people want to get along with me this time. Well, they've gone through 4 years, and, you know, it wasn't easy for me, but it wasn't easy for them either. And that's a great thing, though. Getting along is a great thing. So Tim Cook was here. I think he's done an incredible job at Apple, and he talked about the future of Apple. It's going to be a bright future. But we have many others also, and not in that business. And we do have Jeff Bezos, Amazon, coming in sometime during the week. Look forward to that. We have a lot of great executives coming in. The top executives, the top bankers, they're all calling. And honestly, in the first time, I don't know what it was. It's like a complete opposite. In the first one, and the press has covered that fairly, actually, for change. The first one, they were very hostile. And maybe it was my fault, but I don't really think so. They were just very right from the beginning. And this one is much less hostile. It's really the opposite of hostile.
Can I get your reaction
Well, you're
on
free
Duke
to give up a
Lacrosse, sir?
thought.
I know that you had some, I believe, involvement 18 years ago with the students at Duke accused of rape in the lacrosse. Now we have this
Well,
development.
I thought it was a hoax when it happened, the Duke situation. I didn't believe the woman, as you know. And they destroyed the lives of these kids. They destroyed, and I don't care what they got. Their lives have been destroyed. Their lives have been shortened by what took place. And now the woman admitted that it never happened. That is a horrible. And as you know, I took a lot of heat when I said that this did not happen. And those kids were beautiful kids with beautiful families, and they were, in some cases, will never be the same. They will never be the same.
Have you talked to them by chance?
Thoughts on the Postal Service? You mentioned Bezos a second ago, and I've always thought Bezos would be a key person to go in there and really streamline the logistics of the post office, but they lose billions.
Well, there is talk about the Postal Service being taken private. You do know that. Not the worst idea I've ever heard. It really isn't. You know, it's a lot different today with between Amazon and UPS and FedEx and all the things that you didn't have. But there is talk about that. It's an idea that a lot of people have liked for a long time. We're looking at it. I think we're looking at that along with a lot of us. Any questions for Howard, by the way? Commerce.
Sure, I'll ask one. Mr. Incoming Secretary, do you see another trade deal with China coming?
I think the president.
That's a tough one, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's easy for me. You're sitting next to me, so it's okay. No, the president has very clear agenda for tariffs, and I think reciprocity is something that is going to be a key topic for us. How you treat us is how you should expect to be treated.
Would you like to weigh in, sir, on
You
that?
said it so well, reciprocal. If they tax us, we tax them the same amount. They tax us, forgetting just for a second about the word tax. They tax us, we tax them. And they tax us, almost in all cases, they're taxing us, and we haven't been taxing
Is that
them.
deal already underway? Is there a deal already underway with respect to that?
Let's just say this, we're gonna make great deals, and we have all the cards. And until I came along, don't forget, and Howard was going over the numbers with me last night, we took in $600 billion and more in taxes and tariffs from China. No other president took in 10 cents, not 10 cents, not 10 cents. And no, well, we're going to be doing things. We're going to be treating people very fairly. But the word reciprocal is important because if somebody charges us, India, we don't have to talk about own. If India charges us 100%, do we charge them nothing for the same? You know, they send in a bicycle and we send them a bicycle. They charge us 100 and 200. India charges a lot. Brazil charges a lot. If they want to charge us, that's fine, but we're going to charge them the same thing.
How
That's
are
a
you
big
worried
thing.
about
And you know
tariff?
what? The senators, some of them aren't necessarily business people. When I give that to them, they say, that sounds fair to me.
Are you concerned that tariffs might hurt the stock market rise that you have seen and the economy more broadly?
Make our country rich. Tariffs will make our country rich.
But won't they raise prices?
Properly used. Will make, no, well, I didn't have any inflation and I had massive tariffs on a lot of things. We put tariffs on steel. If I didn't put tariffs on steel, 50% and more, they were dumping steel in, China and others. I put tariffs on and it stopped and we took a fortune. We made a fortune on it. Tariffs, properly used, which we will do, and being reciprocal with other nations, but it'll make our country rich. Our country right now loses to everybody. Almost nobody do we have a surplus with. There are a couple of countries, and they're embarrassed by it, but almost nobody. And tariffs will make, I always said, to me, tariffs, the most beautiful word in the dictionary. It'll make our country rich. You go back and look at the 1890s, 1880s, McKinley, and you take a look at tariffs, that was when we were at our proportionately the richest. Go ahead.
Mr. President,
Agree with the view from,
Did you get to a good spot?
Back on Ukraine, Mr. President. What should Zelensky, if anything, be prepared to give up to end this
He
war?
should be prepared to make a deal. That's all. Got to be a deal. No, got to be a deal. Too many people being killed. That is a war that's hard. Too many people. Got to make a deal. And Putin has to make a deal too.
What deal would
Do you
what
think-
would you
Putin
suggest?
has to make a deal, and Putin would have never gone in if I was president. If I was president, we wouldn't have had inflation. Our oil prices would have been lower. I had a good relationship with Putin. He would, despite the Russia hoax, which made it more difficult. If we had that election, if it were an honorable election, we wouldn't have had any of the problems that we're talking about right now. Putin would have never got in.
will you make that
based
deal
on your
before you take
understanding of it.
office? Do you still, you said
Will
that you
you
could make
ask-
that deal before you take office. Do you still think you could make that deal?
I'm going to try.
Will you ask
Based on
Putin
your-
to give up Assad?
Well, I hadn't thought of it. I think we have to get on with our lives. We'll have to see what happens. But right now, Syria has a lot of, there's a lot of indefinites. Nobody knows what's going to happen with Syria. But I think Turkey is going to hold the key to Syria, actually. I don't think you've heard that from anybody else, but I've been pretty good at predicting. I want to thank you all, and we're going to make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.